All right, good morning everybody. I'm going to address a couple of videos I saw yesterday. One on Uncle Tony's Garage, and he was referring to a video made by a fellow online as well, the Car Guy Online, who was talking to a no longer to be GM engineer. He was a powertrain engineer for years at General Motors. And he brought up some valid points. So what happens when the bean counters, the accountants and the government and the lawyers take control over engineering designs? Well, first thing that happens is they want to institute a planned obsolescence. They don't want the stuff to last too long, and the plan is that they want the car to last just up to the warranty period, and then it should fail completely, and then they think the government, the customer is going to come back and buy a new one. Whoops. I mean, that's nothing really new. They tried that in the... I mean, I remember from when I started in the field in the late 70s, early 80s, that was the general tactic from General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. But they kind of had to back up on that deal because Honda and Toyota, they weren't playing that way. They were building vehicles that would last 10 years or plus, or even worse yet, they would last 10 years and then would still have a considerable residual value at that time. So they kind of had to back off of that, and also they had some real car guys running the show, most notably Bob Lutz at General Motors, who was a real car guy, and he was intent on providing exciting quality products, but he was pushed out. So the next thing that came up from this conversation from the online car guy with a unnamed engineer, or an engineer named Cello, was that in 2009, General Motors became General Motors Company from General Motors Corporation. So the corporation was bankrupted and then was taken over by another company called General Motors Company. And at that point, the 51% ownership became, or the 50-50 partnership with SAIC of China became a 51% ownership. Most notably as well, the capital GM became a small GM. I don't know if you noticed a change in the insignia, the GM insignia. So since 2009, General Motors has been a Chinese majority-owned company, and he also pointed out that General Motors makes no parts. They farm everything out. So, and I've seen that. I mean, there are no made in the U.S. parts anymore. It's all made in Taiwan or made in China. They also only assemble vehicles, and not that many of them. I mean, the Corvette, the Camaro, the trucks are assembled in the U.S., but everything else is either assembled in China or Mexico. So what happens when the bean counters and the politicians and the lawyers get involved in control design? Well, nothing good. I could tell you. They're only concerned about making money. They're not concerned about making a durable product. And mostly the politicians. So in Canada, they're adopting the California doctrine of no more internal combustion engines vehicle available new after 2035. And they're already saying it's got to be at least 20% no emissions or emissions-free vehicles. That means electric vehicles only, no hybrids, starting next year. We're at like less than 10% now. Well, here's what I see is going to happen. Right now, domestic manufacturers cannot make money on electric cars. They lose on every one of them. The only ones that manage to make a little bit of money on those is Tesla, and that's mostly because they price their stuff way high. And soon to come, Chinese electric cars. So are the Chinese government clairvoyant? Because they've gone all in on electric. They can't make a good internal combustion engine car. So they've gone all in on electric. They own most of the raw materials to make the batteries around the world. They've gone around and bought up all the rights to everything. And they've got pretty much the entire production of battery locked up, and they've got there's a plethora of electric car companies in China right now. So if this comes to pass and they force everybody to buy only electric cars, then I see the domestic automotive production around the world, and I'm not just talking about America, I'm talking about Europe, and possibly Japan and Korea, that the Koreans are jumping on board for the electric stuff pretty hard. But I see the German production cars being decimated because they can't make an electric car and make money either, and all of the American productions. So then that says, well, all of a sudden, all of the older internal combustion engine cars, used car market's just going to explode. Yeah, you know what? The politicians know that, and they've already planned to prevent transfer. So you'll be able to own an internal combustion engine car after 2035, but you won't be able to sell it. They will stop the transfer of those cars. This is pure evil, guys. There isn't enough raw materials to build all these electric cars because they use a lot of copper, a lot of cobalt, a lot of rare earth minerals that just are not being mined right now, and there just isn't any electrical infrastructure available either. We just don't have the juice to power up all these batteries. And they also want to implement trucks, heavy duty trucks, diesel trucks, big tractor trailers. They want to electrify all of that shit. Not a chance. We don't. So what's the bottom line here? Are they that stupid? Or do they know the infrastructure's not there? Do they know it's impossible? And they're just wanting to stop people from moving. And I think that's it. Now, the Chinese have lined themselves up for this electric revolution. And all of the big international organizations like the UN and the World Economic Forum and all those guys, they're pushing it hard. And we know the Chinese have considerable influence over those organizations. So it's not good, guys. We're going to lose control of what we can drive, all in the name of climate change. That's another pile of bullshit. So, next thing, the accountants. As the engineer on the car guy online was saying, they'll take a perfectly good design and they'll nickel and dime it to death. And then they bring the lawyers in. They say, well, okay, what do you think? How much do you think we're going to get sued for this crappy design? And then they toss it up in the air and they go, okay, well, we're still going to save money, even though we're going to deliver a poor product, because we expect X amount of lawsuits and X amount of warranty claims and so on. Man, just make a good product. He got on about the new 10-speed transmissions, which were originally a ZF, a great transmission company from Germany, was originally a ZF design. And when Ford and GM got a hold of it, they went through it and they cheaped it out everywhere they could. Just fine pennies here, pennies there. And they're paying the price because those transmissions are failing drastically. Here, what's the next issue? The forced increase in fuel economy has made the manufacturers come up with these displacement on demand. And they're failing severely as well. A lot of times within the warranty period. And these engineers, they don't want to put that shit in, or that stop-start stuff. So, displacement on demand, that's like where a lifter collapses and effectively kills the compression in the engine and kills that cylinder. Well, they're failing pretty bad. There's also that stop-start stuff. This is another issue. I think that's not being exposed properly. So you come to a light, the engine turns off. As you lift your foot off the brake and touch the gas, it starts up again, and there you go. Well, most people will just get on it right off the bat. So all of a sudden, these engine bearings are running dry for the first, 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds? So if you were to just, let the engine start and allow it to idle up a bit and then start easy, that'd be fine. But no, most people will just fire it up and get on it. Well, now they're losing rod bearings. Well, what do you think is happening? These motors are firing up dry, and they can only take so much of that. Plus, how long do these starters last? Not that long. You're lucky to get 100,000 miles out of them, and then you're in for a new starter. And some of those starters are not easy to get at. They're buried in under the intake manifold or some stupid thing. So I disagree with that system as well. Now, they're also suggesting a very low viscosity oil. I call it water. I never use it. They went to a 0.20 some years ago. Now they're going to 0.16 and 0.8 with viscosity. That's terrible stuff. And in the end, the fuel economy gains they say they're considerable. Bullshit. They're like 1%. That means it's like 1/10 to 2/10 of a mile per gallon. So personally, if it says 0.20, I run 0.40. I never use that 0.20 stuff. And I also like to run a higher detergent level oil. And my engines that have that DOD, that displacement on demand, don't have that issue, because when these lifters collapse, a lot of times what happens is they don't come back up because they're gummed up, and then they start pounding on the cam, takes the cam out, and you're in for a new motor. Oh, you can just change the camshaft. No, you can't, because these camshafts are made of often sintered iron or billet, and they've just flushed the whole motor with all little metal bits. Well, the filter's going to catch that. Yeah, it'll going to catch some of it, but not all of it. And besides that, the pump is sucking dirty oil, so you've scuffed your oil pump pretty bad. Because, the way that works is that there's a screen that'll pick up the big chunks, right? But the screen before the pump sucks whatever's in the pan. And if there's metal bits in the pan, that pump is sucking those bits and running through the pump, and then it goes through the filter. And again, when the filter gets clogged, full of bits, then it is bypassed. And that means whatever junk's going through that pump is going right through the motor. So yeah, let the engineers design the stuff. Let the technology grow. I mean, there is a place for electric cars, but not everywhere. You know, let the technology grow, let the battery technology grow, and let the people buy what they want. Because when a politician dictates how shit goes, it never goes well. It's likely to be a freaking shit show, and that's what we're gonna get. So yeah, that was my retort, I should say, to Uncle Tony's Garage. I don't know if you've ever watched him. He always has some good stuff to talk about, and mostly the car guy online. That was a great interview. It's like the whole thing was 2 hours or so, but I suggest you guys have a look at that. All right, well, that's my rant for today. Come on back, guys, and we'll talk to you again. Thank you.